When I think back to the night I left my parents' house, it doesn't feel like I was just moving in with my grandparents. It feels like I was running from the exhaustion of being treated like a disappointment, from the constant sighs and side eyes at the dinner table, from the whispers that maybe I wasn't pulling my weight. I never thought of it as abandoning my family, but looking back, maybe that's exactly what they saw. The arguments had become routine. That evening, Mom was pacing the kitchen with her arms crossed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Lena, we can't keep carrying you like this. You're 19. You need to start acting like it." My coffee had gone cold in my hands, but I clutched the mug anyway, staring into the dark liquid. "I'm not asking you to carry me. I'm just trying to figure things out." Dad didn't look up from behind his newspaper. He never raised his voice, but somehow his sighs landed harder than any shouting could. "Your mother's not wrong. Rent, groceries, bills, everything is tighter these days. We can't just keep waiting for you to land on your feet." It hurt because I wasn't doing nothing. I had sent out dozens of applications, begged for interviews, worked whatever babysitting or tutoring jobs I could find. But in their eyes, it didn't matter unless it paid the bills. And then there was Maya. My sister leaned against the fridge, arms crossed, eyes glittering with amusement. She had perfected the art of looking smug at the worst possible times. "She's 19, Mom. Maybe she should stop acting like she's 12. The sting of her words hit harder than I wanted to admit. Maya loved watching me squirm. Every time my parents criticized me, she fed off it, like she grew taller with every insult directed my way. I went to bed that night staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to Maya's muffled laughter from across the hall, and I knew I couldn't stay here anymore. The next morning, I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone in my hand, staring at Grandma Helen's number. My fingers hovered over the call button for too long because even asking for help made me feel weak. But eventually I pressed it. "Lena, sweetheart." Grandma's voice rang out, warm as honey. Just hearing it made my chest ache. "What's wrong? You sound shaky." I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. Things aren't great here. Do you think I could stay with you and Grandpa for a while? Just until I get back on my feet." There was silence, and I held my breath. I was already bracing myself for the polite hesitation, the maybe just for a week, the way my parents always hedged their offers of help. But instead, her voice softened with certainty. "Oh, darling, of course. You'll always have a place here. Walter will be thrilled to see you. Pack your things, and come whenever you're ready." My throat tightened. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't a burden. Breaking the news at home was another story. Mom's face fell the second I told her. "So, that's it? You're just running away instead of facing responsibility." Dad muttered something under his breath about taking the easy way out. He didn't even look at me. And Maya, God, Maya looked like Christmas had come early. She smirked, her eyes dancing with mock pity. "Good luck," she said in a sing-song voice. "Let's see how long they put up with you." I wanted to snap back, but I bit my tongue. Instead, I zipped up my duffel bag, slung it over my shoulder, and walked out the door to the sound of her laughter echoing behind me. Grandma and Grandpa's house felt like stepping into another world. The moment I opened the door, the smell of lavender and old books wrapped around me, grounding me. Sunlight streamed through lace curtains onto floral rugs. It felt safe in a way my parents' house hadn't in years. Grandpa Walter's arms closed around me in a bear hug that almost knocked the wind out of me. "There's my girl. You look like you've been through the ringer.
Come, sit."
Helen's got tea going already." Helen bustled down the hall, fussing over me, tugging my bag from my shoulder. "We've fixed up the guest room for you. Fresh sheets, new pillows. You'll rest properly here, Lena. None of that backache you were getting at home." It was like they had been waiting for me, like they wanted me there. For the first time in weeks, I felt wanted. That first week was bliss. I woke to the smell of cinnamon bread baking in the kitchen. I sat in the garden with Grandma, pulling weeds while she hummed softly. I listened to Grandpa's endless stories about the old neighborhood, about the pranks he pulled as a boy. They asked me about job applications, but it never felt like an interrogation. Just encouragement, gentle nudges, reminders that they believed in me. At night, lying in the soft guest bed with the scent of lavender still clinging to the sheets, I wondered how I had survived so long without this kind of peace. But peace never lasts. It started with a phone call. Wednesday evening, my phone lit up with Maya's name. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice came sharp and dripping with venom. "So, how's it feel? Living in paradise while the rest of us deal with reality?" I frowned, sitting straighter in the chair by the window. "What are you talking about?" "I'm just trying to figure things out, Maya." "Yeah, well, Mom and Dad are pissed. And Grandma won't shut up about you. She told Mom you're so mature for making this decision." "Mature, Lena."
Can you believe that?
My stomach dropped. I didn't ask her to say that. Of course not. You never ask. You just exist and everyone bends over backward for you. I blinked, stunned. That's not fair. You have no idea what I've been dealing with. Her laugh was bitter. No idea? I deal with it every day. You get to escape, and I'm stuck cleaning up the mess. But go ahead, enjoy being the golden child. Grandma's little angel. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I sat there staring at the phone, the quiet of the house pressing in around me. For the first time since I'd arrived, unease crept into my chest. I could still hear her words, sharp and poisonous. Grandma's little angel. The following day, Helen noticed I was distracted. "Penny for your thoughts, darling?" she asked as we kneaded dough side by side. I forced a smile. Just tired, that's all. But I wasn't just tired. I kept replaying Maya's voice in my head. The way she'd said it, like there was something more beneath the words. Something I didn't understand. That weekend, my parents called to check in. Or maybe it wasn't really to check in, it was to scold. Mom's tone was clipped. "Maya tells us you're making yourself very comfortable there." "I'm helping out," I argued. "I'm not just sitting around." "You left us when things were hard," she said, voice shaking with anger. "You abandoned this family." Dad's sigh came next. "We can't rely on you, Lena. You've made that clear." I hung up with my chest aching, guilt clawing at my stomach. Was I selfish? Was I wrong for taking the easy road? That night, I heard voices downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and caught snippets of Grandma and Grandpa talking in hushed tones. "She's been through enough," Helen whispered. "We can't make her feel guilty for being here." Walter's reply was low, thoughtful. "It's Maya I worry about. That girl's got a storm brewing in her." I froze, my heart pounding. A storm brewing. The phrase rattled inside me. I suddenly had the sickening feeling that moving here hadn't solved anything. It had only shifted the battlefield. The next morning, Maya sent me a text.
Just one line.
"Enjoy being the favorite while it lasts." I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. There was something ominous in her words, something I couldn't ignore. And for the first time since I'd arrived, I realized Maya wasn't just jealous. She was planning something. The first signs of trouble came during Sunday dinner, when my parents brought Maya over to visit. I had been nervous all afternoon, fluffing the pillows on the sofa and helping Grandma set the table with her best china, trying to convince myself that maybe it would all go smoothly. But the moment Maya stepped inside, I could feel the tension humming in the air. She looked around the house like she was inspecting it for flaws, her lips curling at the floral curtains and the polished wood floors. "Wow," she said, her voice sweet but laced with poison. "Looks like Lena's been living the good life. You've really made yourself at home." I opened my mouth to respond, but Grandma beat me to it. "She's been such a help around here, Maya. You wouldn't believe how much she's brightened this house. Always offering to pitch in, always so considerate." Maya's eyes flicked to mine, narrowing. She smiled at Helen, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's nice. Must be a big change for her." We all sat down at the table, the clink of silverware against china filling the silence. Walter asked Dad about work, and the conversation drifted into safe territory for a while, but it couldn't hold forever. "So," Maya said suddenly, stabbing her fork into a potato, "how long is Lena planning on staying here? I mean, she can't just live here forever, right?" The question hung in the air like smoke. My cheeks burned. "I'll leave when I've got myself sorted out," I said, trying to sound calm. Mom sighed dramatically. "It's just that, Lena, you moving out put a lot of strain on us. Maya's had to pick up chores you used to do, and she's been working so hard to keep everything together." "That's not fair," I protested. "I didn't leave to make things harder on anyone. I left because I couldn't." Maya cut me off with a laugh. "Because you couldn't handle it."
Exactly.
"You just failed." Grandma's face hardened. "Now that's enough, Maya. Your sister is trying her best." But Maya wouldn't stop. She leaned across the table, eyes glittering. "Of course you'd take her side. You always do. Ever since we were little, it's always been Lena this, Lena that. You never brag about me the way you brag about her." Helen's eyes went wide. "That's not true." "It is true," Maya snapped. "And I'm sick of it." The rest of the dinner was unbearable. My parents looked pleased with themselves, like Maya had finally said the words they'd been thinking. Walter kept his head down, silently cutting his roast chicken, while Helen's hands trembled every time she reached for a serving spoon. After they left, I helped clear the table in silence. My hands shook as I stacked plates, shame and anger twisting inside me. Finally, I muttered, "She hates me." Helen touched my arm, her voice soft. "Maya doesn't hate you. She's hurting. She feels left out." "Then why does it feel like everything I do just makes it worse?" She didn't answer. The days that followed were tense. Maya sent me texts almost every day, each one sharper than the last. "Don't get too comfortable. Grandma will get tired of you eventually. You think you're special, but you're not. I know why they really love you more." That last one made my stomach twist. What did she mean by that? I tried to ignore her, but she had a way of worming into my thoughts. Even when Helen praised me for helping in the garden or Walter asked me to read the newspaper aloud to him, I heard Maya's voice in my head. You're the favorite. You always were. One evening, as I sat with Walter on the porch, he cleared his throat. Don't let your sister get under your skin, Lena. She's always been fiery. I glanced at him. His eyes were on the horizon, watching the sun bleed into the trees. It feels like she hates me. She doesn't, he said quietly. But there's something in her, resentment, maybe. She's got ideas in her head that aren't entirely her fault. You've got to be careful. Careful. The word echoed in my mind long after we went inside. The Real explosion came a week later, when Maya showed up unannounced. I was in the kitchen with Helen, chopping carrots for stew, when the front door slammed open. Maya strode in, her face flushed, her eyes wild. Where is she? She demanded. Helen dropped the knife onto the cutting board.
Maya?
What on earth? But Maya was already in front of me, her voice rising. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Living here like some princess, while the rest of us actually work for a living. I froze, knife in hand. Maya, stop.
No.
I'm done pretending. Her voice cracked. They love you more. They always have. And, do you know why? Helen's face went pale. Maya. Because they know the truth, Maya shouted. That's why Grandma always defends you. That's why she acts like you're some kind of miracle. The kitchen went silent except for the sound of my heart pounding in my ears. I stared at her, my mouth dry. What truth? Maya's eyes flicked to Helen, then back to me. She looked almost satisfied. Ask her. She knows. Before anyone could stop her, she turned and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. I stood frozen, the knife still in my hand, the chopped carrots scattered across the counter. Helen's face was ashen, her lips trembling like she wanted to speak but couldn't. Walter appeared in the doorway, his eyes darting between us. What happened? But I couldn't answer. My throat felt like it had closed. All I could hear were Maya's words, replaying in my head. Because they know the truth. I didn't know what truth she meant, but one thing was certain. Whatever it was, it had the power to blow my world apart. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to know. The hours after Maya's outburst stretched on like a fever dream. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the half-chopped carrots, my stomach tight with nausea, while Grandma Helen moved around the kitchen in silence. She avoided my eyes, and that avoidance was louder than any words she could have said. Grandpa Walter tried to steer the conversation to neutral ground, asking if I wanted more tea, if I'd checked the classifieds, but every sentence fell flat in the thick, heavy air. I excused myself early that night, retreating to the guest room, though sleep refused to come. All I could hear was Maya's voice, spitting venom. They love you more because they know the truth. I lay awake, my eyes burning holes into the ceiling, my mind chasing itself in circles. What truth? What secret could explain the way Helen always rushed to defend me? Why had Walter warned me about Maya's resentment, like he'd expected it to explode? By dawn, I felt hollow, my head pounding. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I helped Helen with breakfast, slicing bread while she scrambled eggs. She looked exhausted, her face paler than usual, but she plastered on a smile. We shouldn't let yesterday upset us, she said softly, as though saying it could make it true. Maya's just dramatic. Dramatic? I echoed, trying to make the word fit. But my chest clenched. She said you knew something. Something about me. Helen froze, the spatula hovering above the pan. Her lips pressed together, and for a moment I thought she might finally tell me. But then she turned away, her shoulder stiff. Maya says a lot of things. Don't let her get in your head. Her dismissal should have reassured me. Instead, it felt like gasoline on the fire. By the weekend, Maya's texts had escalated. You still haven't asked them, have you? Too scared? Everyone thinks you're so brave, but you're a coward. They'll never tell you unless you force them. I wanted to ignore her, but every buzz of my phone made my stomach twist. She was taunting me, daring me to pull at the threads of a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to unravel. Then she showed up again. It was Saturday afternoon, Helen was napping upstairs, and Walter was out in the garage tinkering with his tools. I was curled up in the living room with a book when the front door banged open. Maya stormed in like a hurricane, her hair wild, her cheeks flushed. She didn't even glance at me before marching straight into the kitchen. I scrambled after her. What are you doing here? I demanded. She spun on me, her eyes blazing. I'm not letting you sit here pretending anymore. You're not who you think you are, Lena. And they've been lying to you your whole life. My mouth went dry. What are you talking about? Ask them, she shouted, her voice echoing through the house. Go on. Ask Grandma why she treats you like you walk on water. Ask her why she never brags about me the way she brags about you. Helen's footsteps creaked on the stairs. She appeared in the doorway, her robe pulled tight around her, her face pale as parchment. Maya, that's enough. No. Maya snapped, her voice breaking. It's not enough. I'm sick of being the shadow while she's the star.
Tell her, Grandma. Tell her why.
I turned to Helen, my heart slamming against my ribs. Grandma, is there something you're not telling me? Helen's lips parted, but no words came out. She looked at me, then at Maya, then back again. Her eyes glistened, and for the first time, I saw fear there. Not worry, not guilt, fear. Maya's hands trembled as she jabbed a finger toward me.
See? She won't say it.
She can't. Because if she does, you'll finally understand why everything's always been about you. Walter appeared then, wiping his hands on a rag, his brow furrowed. What's going on in here? Maya whirled on him. She deserves to know. You've all kept it hidden long enough. Tell her, or I will. Helen's voice cracked. Maya, please. But Maya didn't stop. She turned back to me, her eyes blazing with tears. You're not Dad's kid, Lena. You never were. Grandma's known the whole time, and that's why she worships you. That's why she treats you like you're better than me. Because you're different. The room tilted. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment I thought I might pass out. What do you mean? I whispered. Maya's smile was bitter, triumphant. Ask them. Go ahead. See if they deny it. Helen collapsed into a chair, her hands covering her face. Walter's jaw tightened, his eyes clouding with something unreadable. The silence stretched, suffocating, until finally Helen lowered her hands. Her eyes met mine, brimming with tears. She's not wrong, she whispered. The world cracked open beneath me. I staggered back, my pulse roaring in my ears. What are you saying? That Dad's not my father? Helen's shoulders shook as she nodded. It was a mistake. A long time ago. Your mother, she was young, and things happened, and her voice trailed off, her words dissolving into sobs. I stared at her, then at Walter, then at Maya, whose expression was a twisted mix of triumph and anguish. My skin crawled. I couldn't breathe. Walter tried to step forward, his voice firm but pleading. Lena, listen to me. You're still you. Nothing changes that. But everything had changed. I stumbled toward the door, my vision swimming. Maya called after me, her voice sharp. Now you know why you've always been the favorite. Because you're not really one of us. The words cut like glass, slicing deep into a place I didn't even know could bleed. I yanked the door open and bolted outside, the cool air slapping my face, tears burning my eyes. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to get away. Away from Helen's trembling voice, from Walter's heavy silence, from Maya's accusing eyes. Away from the truth that had just detonated in the middle of my life. I walked for hours, aimless, numb. The town blurred around me, the faces of strangers passing without notice. I ended up at the park where Helen used to take me as a child, where I'd fed ducks with breadcrumbs and played on the swings. I sat on a bench, my chest heaving, my mind unraveling. If Dad wasn't my father, then who was I? What did that make me? By the time I finally dragged myself back to the house, the sky was dark, the porch light glowing like a beacon. Helen was waiting on the steps, her face lined with worry. She stood when she saw me, but I held up a hand. Don't, I whispered. My voice cracked. Don't say anything. I can't hear it right now. Her mouth opened, but she closed it again, nodding. She stepped aside, letting me pass. I climbed the stairs and shut myself in the guest room, collapsing onto the bed. My whole body shook. The truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same. And the worst part? Maya had been waiting for this moment all along. She hadn't just wanted to hurt me, she wanted to destroy me. And maybe she'd succeeded. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my body trembling with exhaustion but my mind refusing to rest. Every word from Maya echoed in my skull. You're not Dad's kid. You never were. And Helen's broken whisper. She's not wrong. Those words looped until they became a drumbeat I couldn't silence. By morning, my eyes were swollen, my throat raw from holding back sobs. When I finally stepped out of the room, the house felt heavier than usual, as though the walls themselves were groaning under the weight of what had been said. Walter was in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee. He looked up when I entered, his eyes soft but guarded. Lena, he said quietly, you need to eat something. I shook my head, my stomach twisting. I don't want food. I want answers. He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. It's not my place to tell you everything. That's between your mother and Helen. That's not good enough, I snapped, my voice shaking. I deserve to know. Who is my father? Why has everyone lied to me? Walter's gaze dropped to the table. You're still you, Lena. Nothing about you changes, no matter who. Don't. I cut him off, my voice cracking.
Don't give me that line.
Everything changes. My whole life changes. Helen appeared then, her face pale, her robe pulled tight around her. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. She tried to smile, but it was brittle, fragile. Lena, please.
Sit down.
Let's talk. I wanted to run again, but my legs wouldn't move. So I sat, though my hands trembled so badly, I had to clutch them together to keep still. Helen took a long breath. Your mother, Clara, she was barely older than Maya is now when she met someone. It wasn't serious. It wasn't supposed to last. But things happened. And then you happened. My heart hammered. So, you're saying Dad, David, isn't? Helen shook her head slowly, her eyes glistening. He's not your biological father. But when he and your mother married, he agreed to raise you as his own. He didn't want anyone to know. I stared at her, my chest hollow. Does he even know? That I'm not his? Yes, Helen whispered. He's known from the beginning. But it was supposed to be kept between the adults. We never imagined Maya would. Her voice cracked. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. So all these years, you defended me, spoiled me, made me feel special. Was it just because you felt guilty? Helen's eyes filled with tears.
No.
No, Lena. I love you because you're you. You're my granddaughter. Nothing changes that. But yes, maybe I did protect you more fiercely. Maybe I wanted to make sure you never felt the weight of the secret we carried. Her words were meant to comfort, but they burned instead. Because the truth was, Maya had felt that weight all along. She'd seen it in every smile, every brag, every quiet defense. She had been living in my shadow, and now I finally understood why. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. I need air. Before Helen could answer, I left the house, slamming the door behind me. I walked until my feet ached, until the small town blurred into background noise. I ended up outside my parents' house, staring at the door I had once walked through without a second thought. My chest tightened. I rang the bell. Mom opened the door, her expression flickering from surprise to annoyance. Lena, what are you doing here? Is it true? I blurted out. My voice cracked. Is Dad not my father? For a moment, Mom's mask slipped. Her eyes widened, panic flashing across her face before she composed herself.
Who told you that?
Does it matter? I demanded. I need to hear it from you. Behind her, Dad appeared, his brow furrowed. What's going on? I looked at him, my chest constricting. Are you my father? The silence was deafening. Dad's jaw clenched. He looked at Mom, then at me, and finally he shook his head. Something inside me shattered. Mom reached for me, her voice frantic. Lena, please. I stepped back. Don't touch me. You lied to me my entire life. It was to protect you, she pleaded. You wouldn't have understood. We didn't want you to feel different. But I am different, I spat. Maya made sure of that. You made sure of that. Dad's voice was quiet, almost flat. I raised you. I'm the one who put a roof over your head, who took you to school, who worked so you could have what you needed. Biology doesn't change that. I wanted his words to comfort me. Instead, they twisted the knife. Then why does it feel like I was just a mistake you agreed to tolerate? His eyes flicked away, and that was my answer. I turned and ran, my mother's voice echoing after me, breaking on my name. But I didn't stop. By the time I made it back to Helen and Walter's, the sun had dipped low, the sky streaked with angry reds and purples. Helen rushed to the door, her face etched with worry, but I brushed past her and went straight upstairs. I collapsed onto the bed, my body shaking with sobs. For the first time, I felt completely untethered, as though the person I thought I was had been erased in an instant. Downstairs, I heard muffled voices, Walter's steady rumble, Helen's sharp whispers. They were arguing. I caught fragments. Too soon. Couldn't hide it forever. She deserved the truth. But none of it mattered. Because Maya had been right all along. I wasn't who I thought I was. And now the only question left was what that made me, and whether I even belonged in this family at all. I don't remember falling asleep, but when I opened my eyes, the room was dark. My body felt heavy, my face stiff from dried tears. For a few moments, I lay still, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator downstairs and the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hall. The house felt different now, less safe, less mine. The voices started again the next morning. Not whispered this time, not muffled.
Shouts.
I crept halfway down the stairs and froze, my hand on the banister. She had no right to tell her. Clara's voice, sharp, trembling with fury. You promised me this would stay between us. Helen's reply cracked with desperation. She had a right to know, Clara. She's 19. She's not a child anymore. She's still my daughter. Clara snapped. And you've ruined her life with your meddling. Walter's deep voice cut through. Her life was already being ruined by the secrecy. Maya weaponized it. This is on all of us, not just Helen. Maya's voice joined in, dripping with venom. Don't you dare put this on me. I only said what everyone was thinking. She's been handed everything while I've had nothing. Now she finally sees the truth. My chest tightened. I couldn't listen anymore. I stepped down the rest of the stairs, and all eyes swung toward me. Stop, I said hoarsely. My voice barely carried, but the silence that followed gave it weight. Stop tearing each other apart over me. This isn't helping. Clara's face softened, but her eyes were still wet with rage. Lena, honey. Don't. I cut her off. Don't call me honey. Don't act like this is normal. You lied to me my entire life, and now you want me to just, what? Pretend like nothing's changed. David stepped forward, his jaw tight. I told you last night. I raised you. I'm your father in every way that matters. I looked at him, my throat aching. Then why does it feel like you've always kept me at arm's length? Why does it feel like Maya was the daughter you wanted, and I was just some obligation? His silence was the confirmation I dreaded. Helen started to cry, her hands twisting in her lap. Lena, please. Don't let this destroy you. You're stronger than that. But Maya laughed bitterly. Destroy her? She's always had everything. She's the golden child. I'm the one who's been destroyed, watching her get all the love I'll never get. I turned to her, anger boiling beneath my grief. You think I asked for this? You think I wanted to be lied to? You've hated me for something I never even knew about. You didn't have to know, she spat. You just had to exist. That was enough. Her words landed like a slap. Walter stepped between us, his hands raised. Enough. Both of you. This ends now. But it didn't end. Not really. Because even as silence fell, the damage was already done. The family I thought I belonged to had split wide open and no one knew how to stitch it back together. That night, I packed a bag. Just the essentials, clothes, my laptop, a few keepsakes I couldn't bear to leave behind. Helen knocked softly on the door as I zipped it shut. Where will you go? She asked, her voice trembling. I shook my head. I don't know, but I can't stay here. Not when every room is filled with lies and anger. She stepped closer, her hands clutching mine. I love you, Lena. More than you'll ever know. No matter what happens, you're my granddaughter. Tears blurred my vision. I love you too, but I can't breathe here anymore. Walter drove me to the bus station in silence. When the bus finally pulled up, he handed me a folded envelope. Open it later, he said gruffly. His eyes were red, though he tried to hide it. I hugged him tightly before stepping onto the bus. As it rumbled down the road, carrying me away from the only home I'd known, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a short letter, written in Walter's careful handwriting. Family is more than blood, Lena. Sometimes it's chosen. Sometimes it's built through pain. You'll find your way. Don't let anger be the thing that defines you. And remember, you are loved. The words blurred as tears spilled down my cheeks. For the first time in days, I let myself believe them. That night, as I sat alone in a strange town with nothing but my bag and Walter's letter, I opened my phone and typed a message into a forum I'd visited before. AITA for moving in with my grandparents when my sister thinks I'm stealing all their attention? It started as sibling rivalry, but it ended with a secret that shattered everything. I don't even know who I am anymore. Was I wrong to seek comfort with them? Or did I ruin my family by leaving? I hit post and stared at the screen, waiting for strangers to tell me what my own family never could, whether I was guilty, or whether I had simply been caught in a storm no one prepared me for. The responses didn't matter yet. What mattered was that, for the first time, I had spoken my truth. And maybe that was the first step toward finding out who I really was. And that's where my story ends for now. Was I the villain for moving in with my grandparents, or was I just the scapegoat for secrets no one wanted to face? Like this video, leave a comment, and tell me what should I have done differently.